My wife and mother-in-law have been calling me a walking ATM in Portuguese for months. Tonight I responded in fluent Portuguese. Good, because tonight you're both leaving my house with nothing. Throwaway account. 36, male, anesthesiologist in Houston. Married to Elise, 33, female, for 7 years, no kids. Her mother, Sophia, 56, female, moved in with us about a year ago. Some background. I make around $380K a year, work brutal hours, lots of night shifts. Bought our house 4 years ago before we got married, paid cash for most of it, titles in my name only. Elise calls herself a lifestyle influencer. She's got maybe 15K Instagram followers and posts about fashion and home decor. In reality, she hasn't had real income in years. Her family's from Sao Paulo. They used to have money apparently, but her dad's business went under. Sophia came to the US on a green card sponsorship about 18 months ago. Since she moved into our guest room, she hasn't worked a day. Just criticizes everything I do while spending my money. Here's where it gets interesting. I speak 4 languages, English obviously, Spanish because of my family background, Portuguese and some German. Elise knows about the Spanish, figured I learned it from my Latin American patients. What she doesn't know is I did a 2-year fellowship in Lisbon. I'm completely fluent in Portuguese. Never came up, she never asked. About 6 months ago, I started noticing our joint account was bleeding money. Designer boutiques, high-end furniture, random Zelle transfers. I pulled statements and found nearly $95,000 had disappeared over 2 years. Some went to Elise's personal account. Some got wired to someone named Sofia Almeida in Brazil. I'm a doctor, not an idiot. I hired a PI. Took him 3 weeks to get me what I needed. The money was going to Sofia's relatives in Brazil. But the real gold mine was the WhatsApp messages between Elise and Sophia that he recovered, in Portuguese. He works so much overtime, the money just flows in. Another 2 years and we can get the house and his 401K, then divorce. He's boring, but at least he's an ATM that doesn't complain. I met with a divorce attorney, Jonathan Price. Guy's been practicing family law in Houston for 20 years. Handles a lot of high-asset cases. We reviewed the prenup from before the marriage. I insisted on it. Everything I owned before the wedding stays mine. No alimony. Joint account is for household expenses only, not for sending money to Brazil. Jonathan said to stay calm and get them to incriminate themselves on record. So tonight, I set the stage. I made maquica, Brazilian fish stew, opened a nice bottle of wine, acted like everything was normal. They think I'm this oblivious American who only speaks English and watches ESPN. After dinner, they started talking in Portuguese like they always do. Sophia, look at him eating like that. No class, but at least he brings home money. Elise laughed. You always said I should have married a rich lawyer. Doctor's close enough, I guess. Sophia, a few more years you get the house, split his retirement, then you can find someone younger. Elise, God, I'm so bored with him, but this house is in his name so I have to wait it out. Then they actually laughed and clinked their wine glasses, to celebrate fleecing me. I finished my meal, set down my fork, took a sip of wine, and responded in perfect Portuguese, calmly. That's good, because tonight you're both leaving my house with empty hands. The look on their faces, I could never forget that. Elise dropped her fork. Sophia's mouth just hung open. Sophia, you speak Portuguese. Me, you forgot I lived in Lisbon for 2 years. Oh wait, you didn't even know. You never asked about my life. I stood up, still in Portuguese. I've understood every word for months, every plan, every insult, every scheme about my money. My divorce attorney is waiting in the driveway. You should probably start packing. I opened the front door. Jonathan Price walked in with my pie carrying a thick folder. This is where I'll pause because I'm still shaking. They're in the guest room now and I can hear them arguing in rapid Portuguese. They don't know I can still hear them. Sophia's saying, "How could you not know he spoke Portuguese?" And Elise is screaming back, "How was I supposed to know? He never said anything." Yeah, maybe if you'd asked me one single question about my life in 7 years, you'd have known. Update coming after they're gone. Edit, lots of people asking about the prenup. Yes, we have one. I insisted on it before we got married. She signed it. Texas is a community property state, but prenups hold up here if they're done right. Mine was done right. Edit 2. For people asking why I never told her I spoke Portuguese, honestly, it just never came up. We met at a charity event in Houston. She knew I was a doctor, knew I spoke Spanish for work. I mentioned living abroad for training, but she never asked where or seemed interested. After a while, I stopped volunteering information because she clearly didn't care about anything that didn't involve her. Update 1. It's been 3 days since the dinner confrontation. They're gone. Here's what went down that night. When Jonathan walked in with the pie, we all sat back down at the dining table. Jonathan put the prenup on the table, all 12 pages of it. Started explaining in English, but I translated key parts to Portuguese so there was no confusion. The house, mine. Bought it 2 years before we got married, title in my name only. Elise has zero claim to it. Retirement accounts, mine. All contributions made with my income. The joint account, for household expenses only. Transferring money to Brazil for Sophia's relatives. That's a violation of the prenup terms. Elise tried to flip it around. You invaded my privacy by checking my accounts. I checked our account, I said. The one with my money that you were wiring to Brazil. That's when the pie opened his tablet, started playing WhatsApp voice messages, in Portuguese. Sophia and Elise talking. Just need to get half the house value. Half is 401k, we're set. Let him work his overtime shifts, more money for us. Once we're done with him, we can move to a nice condo. Sophia tried to save face. This is just mother-daughter talk, you're taking it out of context. 3 years of transferring $95,000 isn't a joke, I said. Jonathan slid the divorce papers across the table. I'd already filed 2 days earlier. Elise was officially served right there in our dining room, or I should say, my dining room. Jonathan laid out the terms. You have 24 hours to collect your personal belongings. After that, locks get changed. You're not on the title, you're not on the lease, you have no legal right to be here. Sophia stood up. What about me? I live here. No, Jonathan said. You're a guest who overstayed. If you're not out by tomorrow evening, Dr. Alvarez will file a police report for trespassing. Elise switched to begging. Back to English, voice shaking. I'll get a job, I'll pay you back, please. You had 7 years to get a job, I said. You chose to send my money to your mother's family in Brazil instead. Sophia tried a different angle in Portuguese. You're destroying your family over money. I answered in Portuguese. You destroyed this family when you called me an ATM at my own dinner table. The next 24 hours were hell. Elise packed her designer clothes and her ring light setup. Sophia kept trying to guilt-trip me, saying I was abandoning them. I just stayed quiet and let Jonathan handle it. By Sunday evening they were gone. I helped load the last suitcase into Elise's car, walked back inside to the dining room. The wine glasses were still there, the prenup papers, her wedding ring sitting on the table. I sat there for an hour just processing it. 7 years, and she never once cared enough to know about my fellowship in Lisbon, never asked about my languages, never asked about anything that wasn't about her Instagram feed or her next shopping trip. The thing is, I don't even care about the money that much. 95k stings, yeah, but what really gets me is the disrespect. Sitting in my house, eating food I cooked, drinking wine I bought, planning to rob me blind while speaking a language they thought I couldn't understand. They thought I was just some boring American doctor who worked too much and didn't pay attention. They forgot that doctors have to be smart. We have to pay attention. It's literally our job. I've got a court date in 6 weeks. Jonathan says the prenup is airtight. Elise is already posting on Instagram about surviving an abusive marriage and starting over with nothing. My friends have been sending me screenshots, but I'm not engaging with any of it. The funny thing is, she's not starting over with nothing. She's starting over with exactly what she brought into the marriage: a failing influencer career and an expensive taste in shoes. I'm starting over too, but I'm starting with my house, my career, my retirement, and my self-respect. Tomorrow I'm changing the locks. Next week I'm changing the Wi-Fi password, and in 6 weeks I'm officially going to be single again. They thought I was the walking ATM who didn't understand Portuguese. Turns out not only I understand Portuguese, I also understand contract law. More updates after the court date. Update 2. Court date was yesterday. I need to share this while it's fresh because it's almost funny how badly this backfired on them. Week after they moved out, Elise posted an Instagram story: survived an abusive marriage, starting over with nothing. To all the women out there, you deserve better. She had her comments turned off, but the DMs were flooding in apparently. Couple mutual friends sent me screenshots. Then Sophia started calling from random numbers, leaving voicemails in Portuguese about how I'd destroyed her daughter's life, and she was going to tell everyone at her church what kind of man I really was. I forwarded everything to Jonathan. But here's where it went nuclear. Elise filed a claim of emotional and financial abuse with the court. Her argument was that I'd controlled all the money, isolated her, and screamed at her regularly. She wanted a protective order that would force me out of my own house while the divorce proceeded. Her lawyer argued she needed access to the house to retrieve important documents, and that I was intimidating her. The hearing for the protective order was last week. Elise showed up with a whole story. She claimed that 2 months ago I'd thrown dinner plates at her during an argument, that I'd blocked her from accessing money, that I'd threatened her if she tried to leave. Her lawyer asked, "Can you describe your husband's temper?" Elise crying, "He would come home from the hospital and just explode, throwing things, screaming. One night he threw an entire set of dishes at the wall while I was standing there." The judge looked concerned, looked at me. "Dr. Alvarez, how do you respond to these allegations?" Jonathan stood up. "Your Honor, my client has video evidence that contradicts every claim. See, I'd installed a comprehensive security system 3 years ago. Cameras in the living room, kitchen, entryway, all cloud-backed. I'm a doctor who works night shifts, it's just smart home security." Elise knew about the cameras. She'd even suggested we get them after a break-in scare in our neighborhood. Jonathan pulled up the footage from the exact date Elise claimed I'd thrown dishes. Time-stamped, crystal clear. That night I wasn't even home. I was pulling a 12-hour shift at the hospital. Elise was home with Sophia. And you know what the video shows? Elise arguing with her mother, Elise throwing a glass at the wall herself, Elise screaming in Portuguese about how she was stuck in this boring marriage. The judge watched the whole thing, then looked at Elise. "You lied to this court." Her lawyer tried to recover. "Your Honor, my client may have misremembered the specific." "Counselor," the judge cut him off. "There's a difference between misremembering and fabricating abuse allegations." Protective order denied. The judge actually warned Elise that making false statements in court could have consequences. Then we got to the actual divorce proceedings. Elise's lawyer argued she deserved spousal support because she'd sacrificed her influencer career to support my medical practice. They claimed she'd contributed to the home's value by decorating and furnishing it. Jonathan pulled out receipts. Every single piece of furniture, every decoration, every renovation, all paid for with my credit card. Elise's total documented income over 7 years of marriage, about $4,200 from small brand sponsorships. Meanwhile, she'd spent over $200,000 of my money on her lifestyle content. The prenup held: no alimony, no claim to the house, no split of my retirement accounts. Jonathan filed a civil claim for the $95,000 transferred from our joint account. The judge reviewed the prenup clause about the joint account being for household expenses only, sending money to Sophia's relatives in Brazil, not a household expense. Judgment in my favor: $95,000 plus court costs. Elise will have to pay it back. Her wages will be garnished once she actually gets a job. It'll probably take years, but the judgment sits on her credit report. It follows her around. Sophia's situation got complicated too. Turns out wiring money out of the country raised some flags. Nothing criminal, but her immigration status got flagged for review. She would be back in Brazil very soon. I didn't report her to USCIS, but someone did. Probably one of the neighbors who was sick of her complaining about everything American. After the hearing, Elise tried to approach me in the parking lot. Her lawyer stopped her. Jonathan walked me to my car and said, "You know, in 20 years of divorce law, I've never seen someone sabotage their own case this badly. The Instagram posts, the false abuse claims, the lies about your temper. She could have walked away quietly with the prenup terms and kept her dignity. Instead, she tried to play victim and got caught lying to a judge." Drove home to my empty house, poured myself a whiskey, sat on my back porch and just breathed. 7 years. I supported her influencer dreams, paid for her lifestyle, never complained about her not working. And the whole time, she and her mother were literally laughing at me in Portuguese, calling me an ATM, planning to take half of everything I'd built. The thing is, I don't even care if I never see that $95K again. The judgment is enough. It's proof. Documentation that I wasn't crazy, wasn't controlling, wasn't the bad guy. They tried to rob me, then tried to paint me as an abuser when I caught them. Instead, there's now a court record that shows exactly what they did. Elise moved into a studio apartment across town. I know because one of my colleagues saw her working the register at a Target. First real job she's had in years. Tomorrow I'm meeting with a contractor about renovating the guest room, getting rid of every piece of furniture that Sophia picked out. Fresh paint, new carpet, the works. They thought they could play me because I worked too much and didn't pay attention. Turns out I was paying attention the whole time, and I had cameras. Final update. It's been over a month after everything went down, and figured I owe you guys an update, so here we go. 2 weeks after the court hearing, Thursday night around 8 p.m. my doorbell rang. I'd just gotten home from a shift, still in scrubs, heating up leftover Thai food. Opened the door to find Sophia standing there, with Father Miguel from the Brazilian Catholic Church she used to drag Elise to. And behind them, looking like she wanted to disappear into the ground, Elise. Sophia started immediately in Portuguese, "Nicholas, we need to talk, as a family." I responded in English, "We're not family, you have 5 seconds to leave my property." Father Miguel stepped forward, also in Portuguese, "Please, my son, your mother-in-law came to me in distress. She says you've destroyed this family over money. Surely we can find forgiveness." Here's where it got surreal. Sophia launched into this whole speech, still in Portuguese, like she could only remember that language when she saw my face, about how I'd abandoned them, how Elise was willing to work now, how they'd pay back every cent if I just took Elise back. Then she pulled out papers, actual printed documents. Elise had apparently drafted a reconciliation agreement where she'd get a part-time job and contribute $500 a month to household expenses. Sophia would move back in to help with housework, and that would count as her contribution to the household expenses. I dropped the $95,000 judgment. We'd go to marriage counseling through the church. I stood there staring at these papers. Father Miguel was nodding along. Sophia was crying, and Elise was just silent, looking at her shoes. I looked directly at Elise. Did you write this, or did your mother? Elise finally spoke. We both did. Nicholas, I know I messed up, but 7 years should count for something. You're right, I said. 7 years of you stealing from me, calling me an ATM, and planning to divorce me once you'd taken enough. That counts for a lot. That's when Sophia made her mistake. She switched to English, voice rising. You selfish man. You make so much money. What's $95,000 to you? You destroy my daughter's life over nothing. I pulled out my phone, opened my email, turned the screen to face Father Miguel. This is from my lawyer. Came through yesterday. Elise's employer, that marketing firm she just started at, they found out she'd been using company resources to run her influencer accounts. Sending work emails to brands, using their Adobe subscription for her personal content, doing her Instagram photos in their office after hours. They fired her Monday. Father Miguel's face changed. And this, I scrolled down, is from my pie. Turns out Elise had consulted with a divorce attorney 6 months before I did, back in March. She was planning to file first, but her lawyer told her to wait until I'd contributed more to the joint account. Her lawyer's note specifically mentioned maximizing marital asset pool before filing. Sophia's mouth opened, nothing came out. I looked at Elise. You weren't just stealing from me, you were setting me up. You and your mother had a timeline. Get me to put more money in the joint account, then file for divorce before I caught on. The only reason you didn't file first is because I beat you to it. Elise started crying. Real tears this time, not the performance crying from court. I didn't, my mom said. Your mom said to rob me blind and you went along with it. I turned to Father Miguel. Father, I'm not interested in forgiveness right now. I'm interested in these 2 women leaving my property. Sophia tried one more move, reached into her purse and pulled out a checkbook. Fine, I write you check right now. $95,000, we pay everything back. I almost laughed. That account has $1,200 in it, I already checked. You think I'm stupid enough to take a bad check? I pointed at the papers in Sophia's hand. You keep that reconciliation agreement, frame it, because that's the closest you're getting to my house or my money ever again. The judgment stands. The divorce is final. And if either of you show up here again, I'm calling the police. Father Miguel looked uncomfortable, started backing toward their car. Sophia grabbed his arm. Tell him about forgiveness. I think, Father Miguel said carefully, that perhaps we should go. Elise hadn't moved. She was still standing on my doorstep staring at me. Finally she spoke, voice barely above a whisper. I thought you'd never find out about any of it. I know, I said, that's the problem. She nodded slowly, turned to follow her mother, then stopped, looked back one more time. For what it's worth, Nicholas, I'm sorry. No, you're not, I said. You're sorry you got caught. She didn't argue, just walked to the car. After they left, I sat on my front steps for 20 minutes, just processing. They really thought I'd take Elise back. After everything, the theft, the lies, the court hearing, the false abuse claims, they genuinely believed I'd signed that agreement and let them move back in. The kicker, I found out later from a mutual friend that Elise is now working at Target. The marketing firm fired her without a reference. She's making about $13 an hour. At that rate, with her rent and expenses, she'll be paying off that judgment until she's 50. Sophia got sent back to Brazil not long after the meltdown at my front door. She tried to get another visa to come back to the U.S. Got denied. The USCIS flags are permanent on her file now. So here's where I actually am. I changed the locks again yesterday, had a locksmith come out, upgraded to smart locks. My brother helped me move furniture around this weekend. The guest room where Sophia used to live is now my home office. Got a standing desk, good chair, mounted my diplomas on the wall, including the certificate from my Lisbon fellowship. In Portuguese. Started going to the gym at 6 a.m. before shifts. Meal prepping on Sundays. Small stuff, but it's mine, my routine, my space, my life. The house is quiet now, really quiet. Sometimes I sit on the back porch with a beer after work and just listen to nothing. No one criticizing my clothes in Portuguese. No one planning to rob me over breakfast. Just quiet. My lawyer called yesterday. Said Elise's lawyer sent over a proposal to reduce the judgment amount in exchange for a lump sum. I told Jonathan to respond with a single word. No. The money doesn't even matter that much anymore. It's the principle. They don't get to steal from me, lie about me, then negotiate when they get caught. Next month, I'm meeting with a financial advisor about what to do with the money I'm saving now that I'm not funding two people's lifestyles. Thinking about taking that trip to Germany I've been putting off. Maybe practice my German somewhere besides the hospital. 3 of my colleagues asked me out for drinks last week. First time in years I've had the energy to actually socialize. Told them the whole story over whiskey. One of them said, "Man, you dodged a bullet." I corrected him, "Nah, I took the bullet for 7 years, then I finally took cover." They showed up at my door thinking I was still that same guy who'd let them walk all over him. The guy who worked 80 hours a week and never asked questions. The ATM who didn't understand Portuguese. But that guy's gone, and he's not coming back. Edit, to everyone asking if Father Miguel knew the full story, I don't think so. Sophia probably fed him some psalm story about the evil American doctor who abandoned his wife. After he saw the evidence on my phone, he got out of there pretty quick. Can't really blame him.